Joining us now is Philippe Nassif, Executive Director of In Defense of Christians. Philippe, what do you think the Egyptian government needs to do to protect Coptic Christians?
Well, I think first of all, the Egyptian government needs to really double down on the existing patrols that they have outside of all of the churches in Egypt, outside of the monasteries. I think moreover, they need to start to communicate a little bit better with the Coptic community in Egypt. So for example, with this motorcade or these buses of pilgrims that were going from the monastery or toward the monastery, there should have been advanced communication. So there was an extra patrol that was maybe escorting that convoy to that monastery to protect these pilgrims. It's stuff like that that we haven't really seen happen come from the Egyptian government, and they really need to double down on protecting these innocent people.
Persecution of Christians has been a problem in Egypt for a long time, and now with the growing number of terror attacks, do you think Christians can realistically live in the country without fear?
Without fear, unfortunately, I don't think so. I think that the problem that we have right now is can they continue to exist in the country writ large? Right now, President Sisi needs to really double down on the efforts that he's already undertaken since taking office to protect these populations, a vulnerable population of people. We are very disappointed in what he's done so far. This is a disturbing pattern that we have seen emerge in Egypt. I could easily say that Coptics are far worse off nowadays than they ever have been in a very long time in Egypt. So we're really concerned about the future existence of this community unless something changes immediately.
Earlier this week, you applauded the meeting between President Trump and Pope Francis. You're asking the U.S. government to do more to stop the global network of terrorism and violent extremism. What else do you think the U.S. government can do?
Well, I think the United States needs to put pressure on a lot of our allies in the Middle East. I think in the Gulf states, for example, we have wealthy businessmen that live in the Gulf and that finance privately or give donations privately to more militant forms of, or militant groups, not just across the Middle East, but we'd say across the world. I think that the way that people are educated in some of these Islamic schools needs to change. I think that the textbooks that they're reading paints the West in a very, very negative light. I think that it distorts history. I think there needs to be much more pressure coming from the United States government on our Gulf allies, and then obviously working with intelligence agencies across Europe, across the Islamic world, to double down and find the people that are responsible for planning to carry out attacks, who's funding them, and then obviously the folks that are guilty of carrying out attacks to bring them to justice.
Last time you were here on the program, you talked about the importance of safe zones, especially when it comes to Syria and Iraq specifically. How do you think those safe zones are doing, or the push for safe zones, is that coming together? Is that really going to help?
It's coming together. It's actually coming together quite nicely on the Hill in Congress. There's a lot of members of Congress that are starting to support the idea of creating safe zones in Syria. The current situation in Syria is unsustainable. There needs to be some kind of a movement toward a solution to that conflict, and we believe that creating a safe zone to protect civilians, maybe close to the Turkish border and then close to the Jordanian border, is a good step in the right direction. I think that it will also help protect the Christian community, the other religious minorities in Syria, from continuing to be driven out, because they're not just being targeted by ISIS, but they're caught in the crossfire between the rebels and the government as well.
A lot of reasons that our EWTN viewers will keep continuing to pray for the people of the Middle East. Philippe Nassif, Executive Director of In Defense of Christians, thanks so much for talking with us about it.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it.